Hello, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well, and congratulations on Ugly Cry getting into South by Southwest. Will this be your first time attending South by?
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've never even been to Austin, so I really can't wait.
So, for anyone watching this who hasn't seen it yet, Ugly Cry is a movie about an actress who gets told she has an ugly cry and kind of goes down this psychological path of descent. Was there any particular inspiration behind the story or any audition horror stories you drew from?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'm really interested in this idea of Delaney basically gets rejected. As an actor, you're trying to be vulnerable, right? You're trying to be vulnerable and honest and show your heart. And she finally like does that, she feels, and then she gets judged for it. And because of that, she's able to like spiral in this way that leads her down this path of trying to like perfect her look, whatever that means. And she kind of just really winds up doing a lot of things that are not so helpful or so good. And I think that that's like a thing that we all kind of do in our own ways. Obviously, it's not so extreme. You know, getting Botox to try to get a part because you have an ugly car. Like it's a very specific route that Delaney is on. But I think, when we're scrolling on Instagram, like I know the second I turned 25, my algorithm was like, oh, here's like Botox, here's this, here's that. Like we are constantly fed what we should be doing, how we should be dressing, how we should be, doing our makeup or our skincare, all of the things that we're doing or not doing to self improve, or so we're told. And so I really wanted to just take a look at that and kind of see someone who like thinks she's doing these things for the right, she thinks she's doing them for the right reasons, she thinks she's doing the right things, but ultimately it's leading her further and further away from herself. I guess because that's like a fear that I have and that I think many people have, is like, how do you how do you just listen to yourself in this world with so much noise?
Yeah, and being very easy, social media making it very easy to compare yourself to, everyone on the planet, basically.
Exactly.
And you've been acting since you were a child. What got you interested in exploring writing and directing with your various short films and now Ugly Cry?
Yeah, so when I worked on the TV show Transparent when I was a teenager, and that set was just the way Joey Soloway led the set was just very like collaborative. There would be times where we would just improvise, or would be like, let's just see if we throw this actor in there, or it was very malleable. And we were very much brought in. It was, before every season, she would do, Joan Shekel would do a workshop where we would all like the cast and crew would kind of like walk around and like embody the beats of the season. And it was this way that really kind of bonded the cast and the crew, which sometimes can feel very like you're on opposite sides of the world. And it really made everyone feel like they had a voice and a creative voice, and could chat with each other, and we're all a part of like bringing this to life. And so I really, found that kind of intoxicating. And I had worked on, a number of episodics and movies that did not feel that way, that felt much more like you stand on your mark and you like engage in a very specific way, and you have to like hit your, very much more rigid and less creative. And so it was just so exciting to exist in this kind of creative bubble. And I just was like, I need to keep doing that. I always wanted to be a writer ever since I was little, and I loved acting. And so this kind of felt like the way to synthesize that all.
Being on Transparent or any of these other projects you've been a part of, was there a certain director, and you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but they maybe had a certain style of directing, or they did something where once you started making your own films, you were like, I want to do that as well, have that on my sets?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that we weren't able to do box, but like Joey would have this thing called box where, you know, once a day, everyone there's like a box, an apple box in the center of a circle, and everyone circles around, and then you can like go and stand in the center, and anyone could just like share what they're feeling or what they want, or like any sort of thought that's going through their mind. It could be of gratitude, it could be like there's a really annoying bug that won't leave me alone, or it could be anything, but it just kind of like opens up this sense of communication that I think is really special. We just shoot wise did not have the time for something like that. That was definitely made possible by working in TV, which was really wonderful. But I think that, we did have some room to like play a little bit and have some scenes that were sort of bracketed out for a little bit more space. And I think that having room for even just a little bit of improv or exploration in performance is so juicy and fun.
As you're writing the screenplay for Ugly Cry, did you know from the start that this was something you wanted to direct and star in?
I knew that it was something I wanted to direct, and initially it was kind of by default I was starring in it because before there was a script, I actually was filming some of it. None of that footage was used. I haven't shown anyone that footage, but I kind of had outlined it and started filming some improvised scenes with like Ryan and some other friends, just to kind of see where it was going. And then I was like, oh, I'm actually going to lose my mind if we film the whole movie this way because I should not be the cinematographer, as well as acting in it and doing all these things. That is very bad. I had my fiance like stand in for me and I would like set it up and I'd be like, oh, you are not my height. Just like ridiculous things. But yeah, by default, I was kind of in it. And then there was conversation of if we would, have a different actor attached to it, and ultimately it just felt kind of too meta and right for this, for me to be the one to do it. But I definitely hope to direct someone else in a leading role at sometime soon. So it'll be fun to be on monitor more for sure.
Definitely. Self tapes get featured heavily in the film, with just having friends in the industry. It seems like that's kind of been the default, at least for like the initial round of auditions post COVID. Do you feel like anything gets lost from having so many auditions go to that like virtual kind of first format, and then you see a person face to face later?
Yeah, I think it's really sad. No, it feels like you're kind of auditioning into the void. I think that there's like a human component of like knowing the people and that you're auditioning with or that are auditioning for you, or there is an element that is lost for sure. There are also things that can be added. I have some friends who make really inventive, self tapes in part because they're just kind of like done with it, and so they're like, yeah, I'm just gonna like film this in the car and do this random thing, so people can get really creative, but that's also ultimately like not what the job is supposed to be. So it's hard. I miss being in person for sure.
It almost feels like there's this recurring theme throughout Ugly Cry where people can't quite convey what they need to convey, whether it's through the self tapes or Delaney constantly missing people's phone calls. Was that something you wanted to explore? The idea that even though like we have all this technology with social media, as you were saying, like we should be more connected, and yet we feel even more further apart than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like the loneliness epidemic, even though we're all online all the time. I think that like I find screens endlessly fascinating. Like it was really important to me to have like some parts of the film that were actually like shot on an iPhone and then like filtered through like all of these different fun layers of technology, in part to like further isolate us from Delaney. Like we are both closer and more claustrophobic, and also kind of like at this new distance from like from her mental state. Yeah, I think that screen, in some ways we're so connected and so close, and in other ways it's like there is a barrier up there for sure.
It does feel like in the movie, like cell phones are very cinematic. There's kind of this like online meme. I don't know how chronically online you are. I'm very online, but like people say like, oh, the reason a lot of directors avoid iPhones is because they're not cinematic. But even like when Delaney's auditioning and then her phone's buzzing and it kind of adds to the attention, it does feel like the presence of smartphones and social media and constant stimulation kind of drives her further to the brink.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's something that a lot of people lean away from, and I was just like, we've gotta completely lean towards this. I think just the way it was written and the way, especially the way that Patrick, our editor, the way we were like editing was so informed by the pace of the internet. And so we really were just trying to lean into it as much as humanly possible. Yeah, I'm fascinated with like the idea of translating the internet. I wrote a book, Consumed, and in that it's like also very like within literary circles, very not my book, but like generally divisive of like how is the internet translated, and I was like, no, we need like tweets, and this was back when tweets were a thing and not X, but it's like, how do we like make this feel like we are on a phone? How do we make this feel timely and urgent, and how do we use that to kind of like propel us, because it is something that is unavoidable in our day and age, and yeah, like sometimes it's great to kind of throw them away, but sometimes it's important to also represent that chaos.
Congratulations again on getting Ugly Cry into South by. I assume you're doing kind of a festival circuit with it, but do you kind of have your next projects lining up, or are we going to see more writing and directing from you?
Yeah, I have a film that I acted in is coming out this year, and then also I have some projects that I hope to direct really soon. So stay
Awesome.
tuned.
Glad to hear it. And congratulations again.
Thank you.